Hello again, everybody. Zach Attack is here with my WWE Raw review for tonight, Monday, June the 24th, 2013. And coming out of last week's Raw, which many, including myself, agree was probably one of the best Raws since the post-Mania Raw. This Raw tonight, coming out of that Raw last week, was pretty okay. This week we got some decent action. Plus, we got some new matches made for Money in the Bank. Plus, the participants for the Money in the Bank ladder match for the WWE Championship briefcase will reveal tonight. And also, love it or not, we have the cover of WWE 2K14. I think I'm probably going to echo the sentiments of many people about the choice of who's on the cover. Especially with its recent actions as of late when it comes to being in WWE and focusing on being a movie star. You know who I'm talking about. I'll make my comments when we get to that point in the show. Let's kick off Raw with beginning. From the beginning, should I say. Kicking off with Bryan. Daniel Bryan. Now, last week, he and Orton fought 2 matches on Raw and SmackDown. With Bryan getting injured. I thought it was a fake injury, but it was a weird injury that he suffered. Like a back of the neck injury. Like a little stinger, I heard, on Raw last week, causing the match to be stopped on Raw while Bryan winning Orton on SmackDown by a countout. But Bryan didn't want a countout. He didn't want a referee stoppage. He wanted to be Orton, fair and square, and once again, prove that he's not the weakest link. I've said it many times in my reviews in the last few weeks that I think this whole weakest link thing's given Daniel Bryan a lit a fire on him. He's really more aggressive than he's ever been. Case in point, the first of what would end up being 2 matches. We would start and end with a match with Randy Orton versus Daniel Bryan. The reason why there was a second match at the end of the evening was because the match ended with a no contest. Both guys were duking each other out back and forth, dragging each other out into the ring, outside the ring area, beating each other outside, kneeling against the announce table. Referee couldn't break them up. They tossed referee around. And unfortunately, referee basically lost control of this first fight, which ended up being a no contest with referees trying to separate Bryan and Daniel and Randy. And Daniel demanded the second match. So we were, like I said, we started with a Randy Orton Bryan match, ending in no contest. I thought it was a weird way to start Raw. And I hope it was going to be a clue for another match, which ended up happening with the WWE app shoved down our throats yet again with them trying to make us vote on the stipulation. Glad no one chose a lumberjack match after seeing what happened at Payback involving the lumberjacks with Cena and Ryback. Glad we didn't chose that. I thought it'd be falls count anywhere, but ended up being a street fight, which was pretty good, which I'll talk about later on. So we got a main event set following the no contest of round 1. Round 2 of this feud on Raw tonight would continue as Orton will wrestle Daniel Bryan on main event in a no DQ street fight match. So there you go. Now after that little toss up, on with the next matchup, which was a tag team affair. Following his loss in a handicap match last week on Raw, with a little help from Rhodes coming in, distracting Sheamus. Of course, it'll be Team Rhodes Scholars teaming up against Sheamus and his partner, the Instant Classic, Christian. Captain Charisma, whatever you want to call him. And Christian came in with indeed a House of Fire. Coming in aggressive over Damien Sandow until Sandow indeed controlled the later half of the match, delivering all of his big moves, including the elbow disdain before tagging in Cody. And Cody delivering some big moves on, of course, Mr. Christian, of course, after that quick tags in and out from both guys, isolating Christian in their corner. Until indeed Christian got the hot tag to Sheamus. Rudy came in, coming like a rally, dominating all over Mr. Sandow after Cody dominated over Christian. So as Sheamus was ready to deliver the big move known as the Big White Noise, on Mr. Sandow, a little miscommunication between Cody and Mr. Sandow came in as Sheamus was going for the white noise, like I mentioned. Cody tagged himself in. They had a little bump in the road. Like Sandow and Cody, like, when Cody tagged him, like, Sandow didn't see it, and it was, like, kind of like a miscommunication, like, they were, like, not in sync, and Cody, after that little bump into Sandow, ran into a bro kick, and a 1-2-3 victory for Sheamus and Mr. Christian. Not Sister Christian, Mr. Christian. So there you go. Okay, tag match. Sheamus will be ending his feud with Sandow, as he'll be fighting Sandow in a one-on-one Dublin Street fight on SmackDown this Friday. And who knows? Is World Scouts broken up again after a little miscommunication? Or will Sandow and Rhodes settle the differences without any physical conflict? So there you go. Sheamus and Christian get the victory following the miscommunication bump and a quick tag from Cody, tagging himself in to the match as Sandow was going to get the white noise. But Cody himself, like I said, got the bro kick in the victory for Sheamus and Christian. Now, with our next match, which involved the now former Divas champion, Caitlyn, still embarrassed by what AJ's done, and AJ would do something ridiculous during this match as well. Before we get to AJ and her involvement in the Caitlyn Oksana match, speaking of ridiculous, we saw another promo for that 1-800-FELLA commercial thing with Sheamus. We saw last week the Heimlich thing. This week's 1-800-FELLA commercial showed him trying to get a cat out of a tree with a bro kick. And the lady trying to show Sheamus her goodies, as I would before. And I was like, this is TVPG, dang it. You're going to have that kind of stuff on TVPG. It was an old, like, it was kind of weird and funny at the same time. So there you go, another 1-800-FELLA commercial with Sheamus, with the cat in the tree, with an old lady. Back to the action. Caitlyn coming in with emotions running high. And she was trying to get AJ out of her mind and focus more on trying to climb back into the Divas title picture. But as Caitlyn was dominating over Oksana, here comes AJ, like I mentioned, coming to distract Caitlyn, dressed up like Caitlyn. She had like a muscle suit, blonde, black wig. You know, it almost looked like AJ. Caitlyn. Like the wig was so head on because during the match, Caitlyn had a theme going. And it was, like I said, AJ dressed up like Caitlyn, basically reenacting Caitlyn's embarrassments of making fun of Caitlyn, saying, I'm a man, you know, and I have no one who loves me. And then Big E came out, kind of reenacting what happened with the whole Secret Admirer thing. And despite that distraction, Caitlyn still got the victory. Oksana did try to capitalize on that distraction with a quick pin on Caitlyn, but Caitlyn recovered and got the spear and a victory over Oksana and wanted to get her hands on AJ, and I know she will. I smell a rematch will take place at Money in the Bank. And you thought that match was personal? This will be personal now with these two feuding. It was kind of weird and funny at the same time. AJ making fun of Caitlyn. I think she did a decent job of making fun of AJ. Making fun of Caitlyn. And she got, like I said, she got the wig was right on. It almost looked like Caitlyn for a moment. You know. So, AJ hit the right notes when it comes to making fun of Caitlyn's muscles and legs and all that. So, there you go. Caitlyn, despite a distraction from AJ, got the victory over Oksana. Speaking of champions, our next match would involve the World Heavyweight Champion, Alberto Del Rio, taking on Chris Jericho. In this match, it was a great match. Jericho can perform well with anybody. As we saw at Payback, Jericho performed very well with CM Punk, as we all know. No shit, right? Because these two guys, Punk and Jericho, were great performers. Jericho can prove not only proved that he can work with Punk well, he can work with just anybody well. Proof, case in point tonight, his match with Alberto Del Rio. Pretty good matchup tonight. Pretty back and forth action. Jericho did dominate from the get-go. It was very, like the last 10 minutes of the match was very long and deserved all the time in the world. And Jericho did have control early on until Jericho was going for a big move, like a big splash through the middle rope, but landed gingerly on his leg, storyline injury or not. But after a little injury, of course, Del Rio had the target on the leg as well as the arm to try to get on the cross arm breaker. There were some great moves in this matchup, some great counters in the matchup. There was a good counter. I think Alberto had the cross arm breaker on at one point, and then Jericho countered it to the walls of Jericho. There were some great counters, great near falls, Great action in this matchup between these guys. And that's going to be Jericho's inserting himself in the whole Ziggler Buttle thing. By the way, that match is official now. Like I said, new matches were made for Money in the Bank. One of them being Alberto Del Rio versus Dolph Ziggler. Finally getting his rematch in the deservingly so at Money in the Bank for the World Heavyweight Championship. And of course, we would see Ziggler involved in some way in this matchup. But back to the matchup. Like I said, pretty good, intense matchup between these two guys. Like I said, near fall after near fall, counter the counter. You know, it's kind of back and forth. And indeed, at one point, Jericho tried to, both guys tried the big moves. Jericho tried to cold break a few times. Alberto countered out of that. I think that was like one counter. Like Alberto countered out of the cold breaker. He countered the cold breaker into the croissant breaker. But then Jericho did have the Walls of Jericho on at one point, and he was ready to make the World Champion tap out. That was until Ricardo Rodriguez came in with the bucket, nailed Jericho with it, and attacked the hell out of Jericho double teaming. That was until Dolph Ziggler came in and basically zigzagged the hell out of Ziggler. Well, Jericho took care of Mr. Ricardo. But Jericho got a little revenge from Ziggler. Now, Jericho already wrestled Alberto. The reason why this match happened in Iron Wall was because Jericho lost to Alberto this past Friday on SmackDown because Dolph Ziggler got involved, causing disqualification. Jericho delivered the cold breaker to Ziggler. After the match tonight, after Ziggler saved Jericho after the disqualification from Rodriguez, Ziggler wanted payback on Jericho for cold breaking him by delivering a zigzag on Jericho. So, there you go. Payback's fair play for Ziggler getting revenge on Jericho after Jericho cold breaked him on SmackDown. So, there you go. Great match between Del Rio and Jericho. I would like to see Jericho maybe get one more title one, but who knows? You know, Jericho, like I said, proved tonight he can work with anybody well. It was a pretty good matchup. Pretty athletic, very intense matchup between these guys. Very athletic matchup between these guys. Pretty good matchup. Maybe not as good as it's probably one of my best favorite, top 5 Raw matches in a while. Like the Daniel Bryan and Seth Rollins match a couple weeks ago was awesome as well. And this is probably up there. The last couple of weeks, Raw's been pretty good as of late. Like I said, not as good as last week, but still pretty good Raw this week. Especially building towards Money in the Bank. So there you go. Chris Jericho wins by DQ. Following the interference from Ricardo Rodriguez. Spoiling, until then, a great matchup. It's kind of a weird ending, but still. It kind of built up towards the Del Rio Ziggler feud, continuing with, of course, the match being made for Money in the Bank, and deservedly so, for Mr. Ziggler. Now, with our next scenario, which involved I think, if I'm correct, we have the cover of WWE 2K14. Well, WWE is disassociated with themselves in some way with, of course, the THQ, finally for bankruptcy. So they are now up with 2K Sports, making the games now. And Vicky Guerrero, I've seen Vicky Guerrero. She came out with Bad Maddox along with Jerry Lawler to introduce the cover. And this is when I will rant about it, like many others will. And I've seen Vicky talk, and I've seen her get booed before. And I was at Raw last year in Detroit, and she got booed. Well, I can imagine how loud it was live as well. And the crowd was decent tonight. Although I hated them during the Money in the Bank participants reveal. They sat on their hands for that. You know, I'll tell you about that in a moment. But I've never heard Vicky boo that loud before. Oh my God, she had to literally scream. You can hear her, stretching every ounce of her voice, trying to she said excuse me 3 times. I've heard, like I said, I've heard Vicky get booed a lot. And oh my God, this is the loudest I've ever heard Vicky get booed. Ever. So it revealed to be 2 covers. The main cover and a fan cover. The fan covers of contests, where the fan cover art winner will be on the flip side of the main cover. And the main cover, which I like I said, I'll probably echo everybody else making videos about this, echo my sentiments about who's on the cover. The cover athlete of WWE 2K14, The Rock. Wow. What a choice, WWE. You're going to choose a guy who isn't in the fucking roster. He's not wrestled since Mania. He got injured and never came back. After Mania, now he's on the front of the fucking video game. it's kind of a weird choice, you know, and I love The Rock. I'm a huge Rock guy. You know, I've said it before in the last 2 years of making videos. I'm a huge Rock guy. But it's kind of weird to have a guy like The Rock on the front when he's not even a fucking active roster guy. He's not even on the active roster. It's kind of a weird choice. You know, it's stupid. You know, I like the shot, though. And I know Rock was on the front of WWE 2K, WWE 12. But it was on the deluxe edition. That's the thing. They had a deluxe edition with The Rock when he was going into the first match of John Cena in Mania. Repeat, the first match in Mania. The once in a lifetime match until it became twice in a lifetime match. He made like a People's Edition. The Rock was on the cover of that. But like I said, that was more of a limited edition. Rock's on the main version. The main cover. That's kind of weird to have a guy like The Rock, who, like I said, is not an active roster guy, who hasn't wrestled since Mania, on the front of WWE 2K14. Hopefully he does come back soon to try to make up for the fact he hasn't wrestled in a few months. So, like I said, questionable choice on my part. I love The Rock. I like the shot on the cover, but The Rock is a weird choice. Should have been like, well, at least the good thing is it wasn't Cena again. But still, it should have been like Daniel Bryan. I would have loved to have seen Daniel Bryan on the front of the game. It would have been awesome. That's what I think should be on 2K. I'm putting in my vote now. Next cover athlete for 2K15, Daniel Bryan. Please, make it happen. Daniel Bryan, WWE 2K15 cover athlete. So there you go. The Rock, cover athlete, 2K14. Love it or hate it, that's what it is. Now, our next matchup, which involved Ryback making his first appearance since the ambulance match, the 3 Chances of Hell match at the pay-per-view Payback last week. He came back tonight against Great Khali. Typical silly squash match, jolly. Like, I heard you can't wrestle chance. I was like, is it directed towards both? I think both got it. I think both should have got you can't wrestle chance. Like, I thought, like, when I heard those chants, I was like, are they chanting towards Khali? Or Ryback? Or are they going to chant both of them? I think they're chanting at both of them. But Ryback did get the victory in this silly squash against Khali by shell-shocking him. If Ryback can shell-shock Mark Henry like he did in Mania, he can shell-shock Khali, which he did, and gets the victory. And later on in the evening, he challenged Jericho to a match. They were arguing backstage about something, about not being involved in Money in the Bank. I didn't spoil who's in it yet, but we all know 2 guys who aren't in the Money in the Bank ladder match, Jericho and Ryback. So they'll be fighting at Money in the Bank, another match made for Money in the Bank tonight. The World Title match in Jericho and Ryback. And of course, the Raw Money in the Bank, which I'll reveal the participants in a little bit. Now on to the next segment, which involved John Cena. Blah, 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 about Mark Henry playing the swerve, the troll, what do you want to call it, about his fake retirement last week, which I even was oblivious. I did not think it was going to use a story. I didn't think it was going to use retirement as a storyline. But the way he did it was epic. I did like it, though. Like, looking back on it, it was a brilliant move. You know, and John Cena's like, no matter how many times you held the title, like, whether you held it as long as CM Punk, 400 days, or held as long as a day, like Rey Mysterio, until I beat him, like the egomaniacal diva that I am. What was it, 2 years ago? When John Cena won the WWE Championship before Punk came back? That's an example of Cena's diva antics. I'm flipping as much as gold. During that promo, there was these couple guys in the back that had double-sided signs that Cena got clapped. That was kind of funny. And on the back of those signs that had Cena got clapped, they even acknowledged Happy 6-year death anniversary, Chris Benoit. I'm surprised that aired on TV. I'm surprised cameras caught that. Like, I was surprised that cameras caught the Chris Benoit guy shit at Payback. And yet again, WWE, once again, didn't acknowledge Chris Benoit besides the camera shot of the sign I mentioned. Anyway, Cena kept blabbing on about Mark Henry. He made a mockery out of all the farewell speeches that are done by guys like Ric Flair, Edge, and Shawn Michaels, who retired with dignity and honesty, not using people like you did, not playing with people's hearts like you did with all the fans and your family, telling them, oh, I'm coming home. But no, you played them like a fiddle. You played us all like a fiddle. We got played. You trolled us, basically. And now you're going to face me at the Money in the Bank pay-per-view for the championship. Bring it on, basically. Basically, champ is here, blah, 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 blah. typical Cena speeds, typical cheers and boos from the fan base. So there you go. We would hear from Mark Henry later on in the evening. So that's Cena's speech about this whole Mark Henry scenario. And like I said, Mark Henry would answer Cena later on. Now, on with our next scenario. I think it was a match. I think it was a number one contenders match. Yes, number one contendership triple threat tag match for the number one contendership for the tag team championships. It was Tons of Funk, Boris Clay and Tenzai, Sweet Tea along with the Funkadactyls, and a fan who won an auction accompanying them to the ring, Scott Bradley, or whatever his name is, taking on the Usos in the 3MB, where at least 2/3 of the 3MB, Drew McIntyre and Jinder Mahal with Heath Slater at ringside. And this tag team match, they can determine number one contenders for the Shield. I'm guessing they would face the winners of this match at the Money in the Bank pay-per-view, I'm guessing as well. It's not official yet or when the title match will take place, but I'm guessing Money in the Bank. But anyway, the match was pretty good. You know, the Usos dominated early on, basically dominating over the 3MB until Tenzai and Brodus Clay took over the match, with Tenzai coming in dominating, and also Brodus Clay coming in and delivering a big splash off the middle rope. That was kind of a silly splash. You know, it's kind of like it was more like a squash instead of a splash. Like it was like squash. You know, and when Brodus Clay came up the middle rope and jumped on top of all of the members of 3MB, it's more like a squash instead of a splash. But anyway, as Tenzai was trying to, it looked like Tenzai and Brodus was going to win. I was like, please no. If all teams are getting a title shot, it better not be Tons of Funk, until the Usos counted out of it and did a double team move with Jay delivering the Samoan drop and signaling Jimmy to deliver the Superfly splash and a 1-2-3 victory for the Usos. Now the Usos have competed for the WWE Tag Team Championships before. They feuded with the Hart Dynasty a few years ago. That was a great feud. I'm glad Usos with the face paint. I think they're really giving him another push, especially facing the Shield, who came down from the ring. They didn't attack him, but he basically said, the Usos, bring it on, baby, as Rollins and Reigns showed what the Usos were going to fight for, the WWE Tag Team Championships. So like I said, we'll find out when the match will take place. I'm guessing Money in the Bank, but we'll find out soon enough when the Usos will get their shot against the team known as the Shield, Rollins and Reigns. Now, on the next segment, we involve Paul Heyman and CM Punk. Now, CM Punk last week barely turned face by telling Paul Heyman, do not accompany me to the ring. And then, of course, after the match with Del Rio, came Brock Lesnar. There was a lot of questions. Then Paul Heyman, and I think I said in my preview on the Attack Line today, I said, is Paul Heyman behind this? I thought Paul Heyman was behind it. That Paul Heyman's like, you turn your back on me, you turn your back on the whole organization, and I'm going to sick Brock Lesnar on you. But Paul Heyman basically said, Punk, I was not behind Brock Lesnar. You know what I mean? I would never pit one of my clients against another. I would never sick Brock Lesnar on my best friend. Is Paul Heyman telling the truth or not? As we all know from the past, Paul Heyman has been a notorious liar. And he said to Punk, I'm telling you the truth because I'm never going to lie to my best friend. You know, it's kind of an emotional segment, the way they were like building it up. You know, Punk wasn't believing anything Paul said. And I even know JBL said, I think Lesnar's going woke. I think I almost believe that Lesnar did this by himself. That Paul Heyman may have nothing to do with Brock Lesnar coming in. Maybe Brock Lesnar had his own motive that Paul Heyman didn't know about. That Brock Lesnar came in on his own account to pay revenge in his own way on Punk for turning his back on Paul Heyman the way he did. And in the end, even the fans were chanting, go to sleep, you know, TTS. They were hoping for Punk to TTS Paul Heyman. But despite the split from ringside, Paul Heyman and Punk, despite all this shit, still let their friendship do the talking instead of personal and business, as they hugged at the end of that segment. Although they've gone their separate ways, apparently they still have mutual respect. So Punk and Heyman hugged it out. But Punk is still adamant on getting Brock Lesnar. And spoiler alert, Brock Lesnar wasn't on Raw tonight. So we'll see when Brock Lesnar will make his next appearance. But till then, we would have CM Punk in a match against Daniel Wong. Guys, Darren Young, D Young. I was glad to see PTP on there, and this match was pretty good too. I'll give D Young credit. He really looked good tonight against CM Punk. Multi-time champion D Young looked very good. Seriously, I think CM Punk did a great job on basically getting D Young over, despite the fact that Punk did win the match. But D Young looked very good out there, and not much distractions from Darren Young's tag team partner, Titus O'Neil. It was a pretty good matchup. Punk came in early on, but then Punk playing the trump card, having a lot on his mind with the whole Lesnar thing still in his brain. It kind of got distracted and kind of gave D Young the advantage for the later half of the match. And there was decent spots in there. I liked the spot when D Young did he imitated a GTS kind of. He lifted Punk up in the style of doing the GTS, but he did a backstabber type thing. That was kind of a cool little move there, towards the end of the match. After Punk attempted the GTS numerous times in the matchup. He even did the Bulldog, the big Bulldog. I think he tried the elbow once or twice. But as D Young was going for another big move towards the end, Punk counted it to the Anaconda Vice and a quick tap out for D Young, and CM Punk beats D Young, like I mentioned. And I'll give D Young credit, he looked very good tonight. He wrestled Punk pretty well. He had some great offense, and he had some great moves against Punk. He looked very good tonight. I'm glad Punk made him look good, especially with PTP not getting pushed. I think they deserve that. Great personality, still decent wrestlers. I hope WWE gives him a chance. Another chance to be pushed in the tag division. But as Punk was celebrating his victory, here comes D Young and Titus double teaming on Punk. And who was to save Punk? Of all people, another Heyman guy. Despite Punk wanting Heyman to stay out of his business, Paul Heyman had to insert himself in this by sicking out the Intercontinental Champion, Curtis Axel, to make the save for CM Punk. And of course, Punk and Heyman had a big argument in the locker room, saying Heyman's I was doing it for a friend. It wasn't business. I was protecting my friend. Whether you needed me or not, and you didn't need me for the match, you won the match fair and square, Punk, without me there. But when it comes to you getting attacked, getting double teamed by both members of the PTP, you needed backup, whether you needed it or not. And adding more confusion to this whole Punk Heyman thing, a match is made for next week. Punk teaming up with Curtis Axel against the PTP. So, Punk wants Heyman out. Now Heyman wants back in. And Heyman, like I said, claims he has nothing to do with Lesnar. I say, like JBL said, Lesnar's going rogue. That he did this behind Heyman's back on his own motives, not Heyman's motives. So there you go. This match made for next week, and it's kind of confusing. Now on to the next thing, which was the Money in the Bank ladder match participants review. 7 men are in the Money in the Bank match this year. I think it was 4 last year. I'm glad I got up to 7. Including 3 former Money in the Bank winners. I'll start with the 4 who have never won it. We have Randy Orton. We have Christian. We have Sheamus. And we have Kane. Those 4 are the only 4 in the matchup who never won Money in the Bank. The last 3 have won it before. 2011 winner, Daniel Bryan. CM Punk, 2-time winner. And the only man to ever cash Money in the Bank on a real match, and not as a sneak last-minute match like the Edge motive, like the Edge move. Of course, I'm referring to returning Rob Van Dam. Yes, RVD is returning in the Money in the Bank ladder match for the WWE Championship briefcase at Mitb on July 14th in Philly. Now, we will probably find out the World Heavyweight Championship / SmackDown Money in the Bank participants on SmackDown Friday. Or in other words, we'll find out tomorrow because we're all going to read the spoilers from the SmackDown tapings. So how we find out, when we find out, Tuesday or Friday, We're going to find out this week who will be in the SmackDown Money in the Bank match. So there you go. 7 participants in the Mitb match. Of all the people, I would have to pick, if I were to pick a winner, either Punk or Christian. I hope one of those two win. Or D-Bry. I have 3 picks. D-Bry, Punk, and Christian. Especially with D-Bry teasing another title match, a WWE Championship match against Cena one day. Like, D-Bry could win Money in the Bank and cash in for a title match at SummerSlam against Cena. So that could happen. We'll see what does happen on July 14th with D-Bry, CM Punk, the return of our Van Dam, Sheamus, Randy Orton, Kane, and Christian battling it out for the Money in the Bank WWE Championship briefcase. Speaking of the WWE Championship, that leads us to the #1 contender for the WWE Championship, the man who I mentioned trolled the fans, including me. Honestly, trolled me. I didn't think I was going to use retirement as a fake storyline. Mark Henry coming out saying, I had you all fooled. I trolled everybody. I trolled my family. I used everybody. Used my family. Used the other guys. Used everybody to be the #1 contender. Desperate men do desperate things. Basically, that's what Cena said in his promo. Like, men will go to any lengths to get a shot at the championship. Mark Henry, he pulled the lengths of faking retirement to coax Cena into putting the title up at Money in the Bank. And there was a lot of what chants during this one. Like, after the sympathy of the fans last week, the fans let Mark Henry have it this week with the whats. And then Mark Henry said, oh yeah, I said I was coming home. But I'm coming home as a WWE champion. So there was no physical confrontation this week between Cena and Mark Henry. But I bet you there will be a physical confrontation with Henry and Cena next week for sure. And before I get to the main event, we did have the power struggle between Vince and Triple H continue on. I mentioned that D-Bry asked for the match against Randy Orton, which turned into a street fight. But the match was almost canceled at one point with Vince McMahon wanted the match canceled. Then Triple H coming in saying let the fans choose the stipulation, hence the street fight. So the power struggle between Vince and Triple H, and also Stephanie getting involved as well. That power struggle continues on. We'll see how it develops in the next couple weeks. But till then, the fans voted it, and it was a street fight between Randy Orton and D-Bry to end Raw after the no contest of the first match on Raw. Now, I like the use of weapons. Like, they used more weapons than any other street fight I've seen lately. And it was pretty good. Very physically grueling matchup between these guys. There's some great spots with, a powerbomb through a table from D-Bry on Orton. And it was a pretty decent matchup. For being an Orton match, it was pretty good. Basically, D-Bry, in my mind, D-Bry carried the matchup. And D-Bry came in, of course, once again, with the whole chip on his shoulder, the whole, I need to prove I'm not the weak link thing. On his shoulder, coming in like a house of fire as usual. But of course, Orton coming in as the plain old Predator. Viper, whatever nickname they gave him this week. It's kind of weird, like they call him the Viper, yet they call him the Apex Predator when they announce him. Stupid. Anyway, he changed his nicknames more than AJ changed his boyfriends. Anyway, this match, like I said, very grueling. They use a Kendall. I like the numerous times D-Bry had a no lock. Can we call it the yes lock again, please? Now that D-Bry is saying yes again, can we please bring back the yes shirts and bring back the yes lock instead of no lock? But I am still going to call it the yes lock. There was some decent spots in the matchup. Two of my favorites was when D-Bry was doing no lock. He had no lock on twice twice, and Orton countered with the kendo stick. And unfortunately, the kendo stick would be Orton's downfall. And I like the spots when the two men slug it out in the ring. Crowd say boo, yay, boo, yay. But it was yes, no. It's a pretty decent spot as well. And like I said, it was another pretty long matchup, about 20 minutes long, and both guys were giving it all, countering and near fall, maybe not as great as the Jericho Del Rio match earlier on, but it was still a pretty physically grueling matchup. After numerous times of trying to get the yes lock on Orton, D-Bry finally got him too. As Orton was in a no lock again, for the second or third time, he was trying to break out of it with the kendo stick again, And like I said, the candlestick would be Orton's downfall. As Orton was trying to get the candlestick to break the hold, because there's no rope breaks in this, Bryan used the candlestick to pull Orton's neck back to make the hold more dangerous, and forced Orton to tap out, giving Bryan the victory. Finally, Bryan proved this point. He finally beat Randy Orton fair and square, with help from some weapons and a legal street fight to get the victory over Orton, finally proving he's not the weakest link. Then you're Bryan, you're not the weakest link. Hello, goodbye. Anyway, I thought someone was gonna turn heel here. Like Orton and Bryan after the match, Orton pulled Bryan up and shook his hand. I thought one of two things was gonna happen. I thought Bryan was gonna get the handshake from Orton, then be dragged into an RKO. I didn't see that develop. I was like, okay. I thought the second scenario would come in and Orton would finally turn heel. As Bryan was celebrating, I thought, like, when Bryan after the handshake was saying, yes, yes, I thought Orton was going to come back in the ring and RKO Bryan from behind. But that was spoiled when we see Orton still outside the ring. As we end Raw with Orton walking out, as Bryan gets the victory over Orton, and hopefully this chip off his shoulder. Get this chip off his shoulder about proving he's not the weak link. And it could build momentum, like I said, for Bryan possibly winning Money in the Bank, because he and Orton are both in the match. So we'll see how that goes. I think Orton may not. Like I said, the 3 picks for that Money in the Bank match is Punk, Christian, and Bryan. Number 1 would have to be Bryan. The way he's, like I said, this whole chip out his shoulder thing, I think the weakest link thing is finally proven. And what better way to further prove the point, and after beating Orton in one-on-one competition, is to win Money in the Bank for the second time. Not 2 years in a row, but still, second time in 3 years. Because he won in 2011, and he may win again with this momentum on his side. So see what happens. So there you go. Match is made for next week. Like it or not, CM Punk will take on the PTP with Curtis Axel's act partner. 3 matches made for Money in the Bank. Jericho and Ryback. Roberto Ziggler rematch for the world title. In the Money in the Bank match for Raw. Hope you find out the SmackDown participants for the world title, Money in the Bank. And we're gonna maybe a match involving the Usos and Shield for the tag, and maybe AJ Caitlyn rematch for the Divas Championship. Maybe made. We'll see what other matches get made for Money in the Bank in the next couple weeks to come. That is it for the attack. Not the attack line, but the WWE Raw review for today. I'll see you all later. With that in mind. You've all been attacked by the review of Zach. Thank you all very much for watching. Stay cool, everybody, in this very hot weather. Yeah.